Welcome to this week's episode of Ant on Music. I'm your host, Ant. Before we get into this week's episode, where we're going to talk a lot about Jack Russell of GreatWhite, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 63, which is just way too young for me. We're going to do my usual housekeeping that I do. If you dig what I have to say, or if you know someone that does, please click like, share it, and also, most of all, subscribe. I want to have this station grow, this channel grow. So let's get it moving. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And like I said, we're going to talk about Jack Russell of GreatWhite. Right after I recorded the last episode that I posted a week ago, found out that Jack Russell had passed away. And that really, just to put it bluntly, absolutely freaking sucks. Jack was a great vocalist. He basically, he didn't die on stage, but he might as well have. He stayed out on the road and kept active for as long as he could, which was amazing because he suffered from Lewy body dementia, which, in addition to having Parkinsonian symptoms, English please, he also suffered from really bad hallucinations as part of that. There are videos online here on YouTube where Jack had some real issues just being up on stage. They had him seated on a bar stool and stuff with him falling. It was really, really awful for him towards the end of his touring career. And, you knew he wasn't going to recover, but, you always hope that, you hope for a miracle. And it wasn't like one of these things like, he was out there like, some of these lead singers like, Vince Neil, Motley Crue really couldn't sing and, was basically, out of breath on stage. This guy had real health issues and he just loved the music so much that he couldn't step away from the stage. So, rest in peace, Jack. We're going to take a look at a couple of his solo albums and also take a look at, just a couple of GreatWhite records. I don't want to get into like their whole catalog. I just did a whole catalog show last week on Anthrax. If you want to check that out, go check that out. One day we'll do all of GreatWhite, I promise. So, as far as GreatWhite goes, GreatWhite, started off in the 80s like most of our hair farmers did. And, big thing that's kind of separated them from everybody else was Jack. Jack had a phenomenal voice. He wasn't, a shrieker. He wasn't, it wasn't one of these guys that had like an unearthly shrieking voice. He was really bluesy and soulful, and it played very well into what they were doing. It's like he was a crucial element in that band, and big devotee of bands like Aerosmith and Zeppelin, and they put out some great stuff. So let's take a look at a couple of their albums, an early one and a latter one. They have started reissuing some of their albums, GreatWhite's that is. Of course they're most known for their big hits, basically the cover of Once Bitten, Twice Shy, and they separated those and made 2 album titles out of that. Mr. Bone was another big track for them, which is also part of the title of Jack's autobiography that came out literally like a couple of weeks before he passed. Still waiting for my copy to arrive, but from what I've read in the reviews, he's pretty frank about everything. Unfortunately, Jack's going to be remembered for mostly is the fire at the Station nightclub up in Warwick, Rhode Island, which was a true tragedy. A lot of people lost their lives, including one of the guitarists in GreatWhite. Basically, if you don't know the story, the band went to set off pyrotechnics. Ceiling caught fire. There was basically no way for all the hundreds of people in there to get out, and people perished in the fire. And in the book, Jack talks about in great detail how that affected him. Aside from all the legal ramifications and stuff like that, he really took it to heart, and he never really recovered from that. He lived with that from when the fire happened in 2013 up until when he passed. And I remember that night clearly, and the next day I had friends reaching out to me because I was a GreatWhite fan, big GreatWhite fan, got to see them a bunch of times, and they were wondering if I was actually there, if I had traveled to Rhode Island to see them back in 2013. Fortunately, I did not. So let's take a look at a couple of GreatWhite stuff, a couple of their albums and a couple of Jack's solo albums, and one new release and then a box set that's celebrating the original album, celebrating its 30th anniversary. I haven't really done much anniversary stuff, and this is kind of cool because it's a 30th anniversary and it's a gigantic box set. It's awesome. All right, so first up, all right, GreatWhite. Okay. This is Shot in the Dark. They were kind enough to really mess with the fans and put all the song titles in a run-on order. You could see the boys in the band. This was before Michael Lardy was officially part of the band. He was, basically doing some keyboard work for them, and he became a big part of the band as well. Take a look at the interior. Got the lyrics there with the GreatWhite shark logo. And also got the liner notes, a couple of pictures of the boys in the band at that time. And this had some great tracks on it. I mean, She Shakes Me kicks it off. What Do You Do? Face the Day, which is one of my favorite GreatWhite tracks, and it should be one of yours. Give Me Some Lovin', cover of the Steve Winwood tune. Shot in the Dark, Is Anybody There? Runaway and Waiting for Love. Typical album of the 80s. Not a ton of songs, but actually really, really good. Very bluesy stuff, like I said. If you dig blues-based rock, blues-based heavy metal, this is a good one to have if you don't have it in your collection. And obviously, like I said, they're known for, the Once Bitten and Twice Shy albums. But, that's, like I said, that's for another day. What we're going to have here next is the stage album. And if you want to experience GreatWhite, the best way to have experienced them is live. Live, they were formidable. They would routinely blow bigger acts off the stage, and they were phenomenal in a live setting. Their stuff really came to life live, and Jack was a big part of that. This album is it's a re-release. They just re-released this one. You've basically got the recording notes on this, and where they were at in their career as far as this album goes, right here on these two panels on the gatefold. The back shows you all the track listing right there, and this is really this plays like a greatest hits package, as any live album should. You've got Train to Nowhere, Sail Away, which is a great acoustic tune. House of Broken Love, really awesome bluesy tune from the boys. Maybe Someday, Congo Square, Afterglow. Absolutely love Afterglow. On that side, it's two stages. The album's called Stage. Stage 1 is from the House of Blues in LA in '94, and that's they had just returned home after basically being on tour for 2 years, and the crowd reception was really warm, and they put on a great show. And then Stage 2 was recorded a year earlier at the Celebrity Theater in Anaheim, and they play Face the Day, Old Rose Motel, fantastic track. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Zeppelin covers. They put out a couple of Zeppelin album covers, Great Zeppelin and then Great Zeppelin 2. Rock Me, which is another one of their classic MTV tracks that was all over as far as video goes. The long version is spectacular. Can't Shake It, Once Bitten, Twice Shy, and Love Is a Lie. I think one of the things that really separated them from, a lot of their peers was the fact that they were very, not only were they very bluesy and soulful, and they were great live, but they picked fantastic tunes to cover, and they really did them justice. This was re-released on basically like a blood red vinyl. All right. And both albums look the same. It's like there's not much of a difference in between the two as far as the look of them goes. But if you've never listened to this album, do yourself a favor while it's still available, because they don't produce stuff in the mass quantities that they used to. Pick this one up. Great album to have in your collection. Same thing with a lot of their other albums like Hooked, Psycho City, one of my favorite albums by them. Good stuff to check out. And here's the little hype sticker for that one. Limited edition double red vinyl, very cool, And let's talk about Jack's solo career. So Jack actually, like I said, Jack was part of the band, released a couple of albums while still being in the band as a solo act, which didn't stray too much from the GreatWhite mold. So, basically it was like getting additional GreatWhite albums in a way, without everybody in the band being present. And then you had, he had another album as well that he put out, and then he went and did Jack Russell's GreatWhite. So they had a bit of a storied career. So this is one that it's a Japanese release. This one is called Shelter Me. And, guess the theme here is Jack is a homeless person. And the cool thing is, show you the inside of that. You got the personnel in the band picture that was there. And they were good enough to put it in English because it's a Japanese release. Sometimes you don't get everything like that. And they also have everything in Japanese and partially in English. Then you got the OBI strip right there, which I've kept preserved since the mid-1990s. So you have that, and this is a pretty solid album. Like I said, if you dig GreatWhite, you dig this. The one person that's from this album that you might recognize from GreatWhite is the great Michael Lardy. Mike's a phenomenal guitar player, keyboard player, background vocalist. If I had to compare him to somebody, he's kind of like the John Paul Jones of GreatWhite, and he plays on this, and also. Drums were provided by Myron Grombacher, who is part of Pat Benatar's core band. This one has some pretty cool tracks. You have Shelter Me, Take My Pain, Leave Me Lonely, Long Way to Go, Hey Bulldog, which is a cover of the Beatles tune, You'll Lose a Good Thing, 24/7, The Fault's All Mine, Roll with the Tide, Faith in You, Save Your Love, Shine On, and When I Look Into Your Eyes. And it's actually produced by Jack and Michael Lardy as well as Dito Godwin. So if you want to try and hunt that one down, Jack Russell's Shelter Me. And like I said, that's pretty faithful, not reproduction of the GreatWhite sound, but in that same vein. A little more poppier stuff was this. Jack Russell For You. This one's even harder to find. This was released over 20 years ago and is on Night Records if you're looking to hunt it down. I don't believe they exist anymore. Got your typical, lyrics, liner notes, photo of Jack there. And, this is more like, almost more of like a very poppy type album. And, any kind of loves on here, whatever it takes, always good tune. Don't Know Why For You, The Best Is Yet to Come. Where the Wind Doesn't Blow, Paradise, No Time Left, I'm Not For Love, and My Everything. And it has Bob Kulick and Billy Sherwood on it, so they also produced it. And you would think it would be heavier than what it is, but it's a little lighter than what you're used to from Jack and Company. So the next thing we're gonna look at, okay, it's an album of covers. All right, so I'm gonna take a sip of water here before I get into that. All right, so next thing we're looking at is this album of covers. All right, and this is a really fun updated cover of King Crimson's debut album, okay, In the Court of the Crimson King. All right, very outrageous looking album cover there. Definitely an update of the original, which you can see kind of see up there behind me a little bit. Let's move that out of the way so you can see the original album cover back there. And here's the gate. It even mimics the gate of the original. And this has a real all-star cast of musicians on it. Show you the hype sticker there. All right. And you've got on here, Arthur Brown, Todd Rundgren. All right. Awesome. Love Todd Rundgren. Mel Collins from King Crimson. Chris Poland, formerly of Megadeth, providing guitars. Ian Pace of Deep Purple. Jacko, the last lead singer of of King Crimson, unless Fripp brings it back again. Alan Davey from Hawkwind, Paul Rudolph of the Pink Fairies, Nick Turner of Hawkwind, Danny Faulkner from Hootigaroos, Steve Hillage from Gone, Jolyn Turner of Rainbow, Marty Friedman from Megadeth, Ja Wobble from Pill, Chester Thompson of Genesis and Frank Zappa fame, James Labrie of Dream Theater, and Carmine Appice of the Vanilla Fudge and Cactus. And, you know, it basically faithfully reproduces, I can't say faithfully, that's a load of crap. They reproduce the album. You know, it's very, very cool. You know, 21st Century Schizoid Man, I Talk to the Wind, Epitaph, Pink Fairies does Epitaph, Moonchild, and In the Court of the Crimson King with Labrie on vocals on that one. And vinyl's very cool. It is basically a translucent pink vinyl, all right, pinkish purplish vinyl, and it sounds great. It's a good sounding record. You know, just came out just this past week, so happy to grab that and add that to the collection. So you may want to check that out, just for the cover alone. How cool is that? Final thing I'm going to show you is a massive 9 LP set celebrating the 30th anniversary of Tom Petty's Wildflowers. This had been out for a while, but since it's the 30th anniversary, figured I'd give you a look at this monster. I haven't shown this one before. And look how thick this is. My God. And it weighs a ton. I'll show you the back. This is the Rick Rubin produced Tom Petty and Wildflowers and all the rest. And what's great about this, aside from getting the album remastered, all right, you get home recordings, all the rest, so tracks that didn't make it onto the album. And some of them you sit there and listen to and you go, how the hell did this not make it onto the album? Wildflowers live, which is great. First time I got to see Tom Petty live was on this tour. So I was really, you know, this album holds a special place in my heart for that, because it was such an awesome tour. And then alternate versions called Finding Wallflowers, which is, you know, tracks that were recorded, just different versions of them, exactly what it sounds like. The albums themselves, you know, are housed individually, and they're all basic black. You know, there's nothing to see as far as the albums go. It's a basic black sleeves. But the cool thing about this is this great book that they include with it. Let me show you the interior here. Some of the artwork there, and we'll pull out the book. This thing is it's like lifting weights. So let's grab that out. All right. Check that out. Isn't that cool? And then you have the back. It's got some great photos and some great, you know, essays about the recording of the album. You know, there's a picture of Tom right there. And got some great photos in here that have never been seen before, some that have. And here's Tom and Rick at the board, probably discussing lunch. Got an introduction by Rick Rubin, which is a great essay from Rick in here. I'll show you a couple more of the pictures. And we'll talk a little bit about the album itself if you're unfamiliar. And like I said, they were talking about lunch. Proves it. Tom Petty's out shopping for it. They really had some cool artwork for this album. All right, so you know this is a good one. You know, if you're not unfamiliar with Wildflowers, you know, where have you been for the past 30 years? Song Wildflowers is beautiful. You Don't Know How It Feels, which is a great Tom Petty tune. Time to Move On. You Wreck Me, which you know, if you've seen the video for that, it's kind of like an old Steve McQueen movie. Kids, look up who Steve McQueen is. It's Good to Be King, which is written about Tom Petty's pooch. Only a Broken Heart's a very good ballad. Honeybee, that definitely burns, that one. You know, it's got that Tom Petty bluesy swagger in there. Don't Fade on Me, Heart on Me, Cabin Down Below, which is a bit of fun. To Find a Friend, A Higher Place, House in the Woods, Crawling Back to You, and Wake Up Time. And you know, they have other stuff on here as well, like the home recordings are great, just to hear him piece things together. Songs like California, A Feeling of Peace, Leave Virginia Alone, There's a Break in the Rain, Have Love Will Travel. hung up and overdue. And like I said, the home version of Wildflowers is really, really cool. And the live set is excellent. You know how it feels, Honeybee, to find a friend, Walls, Crawling Back to You, Cabin Down Below, Driving Down to Georgia, House in the Woods, Girl on LSD, which is a total trip, no pun intended. Time to Move On, Wake Up Time, It's Good to Be King, You Wreck Me, and closing out with the title track, Wildflowers. And you've got the other stuff on here. So happy 30th anniversary to Wildflowers. I can't believe it's been 30 years since this magnificent album was released. And like I said, if you're unfamiliar with it, what the hell have you been doing with your life? I would have to put this probably in my top 3 Tom Petty albums of all time, all right, including stuff with the Heartbreakers. It just has such a great feel to it all the way through. It just flows so nicely. Songs are great. A little different than the Heartbreakers stuff that was out at the time, and it shows the direction that Tom was headed, and definitely a cool thing to have in my collection. So really happy to have this in my collection. It's an awesome set. So that is everything I have for you this week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking it out. Really do appreciate your time. Appreciate you stopping by. Like, share, subscribe. So that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for checking it out. Until next week, as I always say, peace, one love, and music. I'm out.